Welcome into College Football Smothered and Covered. My name is berths. I appreciate you guys checking out the show on this lovely Friday morning. And if you're listening in podcast form or watching on delay, happy Friday afternoon, Saturday morning, Saturday night, wherever and whenever you are watching this show. We do have a big show today. South Carolina head coach Shane Beamer will be along to talk about his 2024 Gamecocks, a little bit about his draft picks, and of course, food, because that's one of our favorite topics here on College Football Smothered and Covered. Like I say, every single episode, go give us a review, positive or negative. Give us a 5-star, give us a 1-star. Don't really care either way. I want you guys to get what you can and what you want out of this show, because this is just a part of the college football ecosystem in new media. I want you to go check out everybody else on the Believe Network. I want you to go check out Josh Pate. I want you to go check out Andy Staples. All these guys do a tremendous amount of work. You deserve college football 24/7, not a bunch of dudes arguing about LeBron James and Michael Jordan, and we're here for you. Hey, you know what? You can also go to breakingt.com. Grab this shirt, South Carolina, Forever to Thee. They've got about, 12, 15 different South Carolina shirts. Some are for fans like this, Forever to Thee. Sometimes they are specifically tailored to a sport like women's basketball. Last time I checked, South Carolina has a pretty good women's basketball team. So go to breakingt.com/smothered and covered. breakingt.com/smothered and covered. You can check all of that out. Joined now by one of my favorite people in the coaching industry, South Carolina head coach Shane Beamer joining us. Shane, what's going on?
Not much. It's great to be on with one of my favorite people in the media industry. So appreciate you having me, and great to see you again.
Yeah, great to see you. I will send you my Venmo account and, just transfer it on over. But, before we get into the South Carolina Gamecocks in 2024, this is draft weekend. And, I think for a coach in this industry, in this day and age with the portal going on and official visits, all this stuff, what is your draft weekend like now as opposed to, 5 years ago?
Yeah, great question. It's different because now these draft weekends are when you're hosting potential portal visitors as well. So we've got a little bit of that going on. It's great now that we'll have some guys that are part of the draft that were on our team in 2023. So excited for them, obviously. But probably that's the biggest change. One is the head coach. You're watching all your guys. I've always been a fan of the draft, so I could sit there and watch literally every pick for 3 straight days and not move and be happy. I don't get that luxury because there's different head coaching duties that I'm responsible for. And we'll also have guys that we're bringing into our program on visits this weekend that can hopefully be in that draft one day after they help us win a bunch of football games here at Carolina.
One guy that's going to hear his name called is Spencer Rattler, and he was fantastic for you guys. He actually was pretty good at Oklahoma, too. I think that maybe some things get lost in Spencer Rattler, that he was ineffective. He's very effective at Oklahoma. He comes to you guys and continues a stellar career, wraps things up after his second year in the program. What kind of development did you see from year 1 to year 2 and with him in your system? And what does he need to do now to have a prolonged career at the NFL level?
Yeah, proud of him and excited for him. And you're exactly right. It was going into the 2021 season. Mm-hmm. He was the preseason favorite to win the Heisman Trophy. And everybody's
it doesn't happen by accident.
Yeah. And everybody's projected number 1 pick in the draft. And then all of a sudden he's the quarterback of an undefeated team and lost his starting job, and all that goes away for some reason. I don't know. People a lot smarter than me have to figure that out. But he came here, proud of him. Obviously, he had some monumental wins for us in 2022. And what he would say, somewhat of an up and down season for him. Maybe not great statistically, but he led us to some huge wins in 2022. And then 2023 was a challenge for him. One, he made progress. I think just understanding the offense, understanding defenses better as well. Year 2 or a new system that he had to learn. So he's been a part of 3 different college systems now. What he did at Oklahoma, coordinator here in Marcus Satterfield in 2022, and then Dow Loggins, a coordinator in 2023. And there were some similarities from year to year, but there were some differences in what we did terminology-wise. So a different system, but just a better understanding overall of defenses. Thought he was very much more in command of everything this season as well. And then I think the thing that has really impressed a lot of these NFL teams is we faced adversity last season. And we lost. We started 2 true freshmen on the offensive line last season because of injuries, and we had 6 season-ending injuries on the offensive line last season. So it was very much a revolving door up front, and because of that, Spencer was under duress, and faced adversity. But NFL teams never saw him flinch, never saw him complain, never saw him outwardly be frustrated. And I think it showed those teams that, and that's why he's got such a big pro career in front of him. As far as what he has to do, I think just continue to progress on the track that he's on right now. And it'll be great for him to get with a team and get in there and learn that system. He's smart, he's tough, he's competitive, he's a great guy, and he's going to get into an NFL organization and I think do some really great things for him.
One of your former players was sort of the draft process darling from these scouts, and that's Xavier Legette. And I had us that cover college football on an hour-to-hour basis going, like, where have you guys been? Like, have you not seen this guy before? But what do you expect him to do at the NFL? Because he kind of did, I would say, burst onto the scene. I don't know if that's the right word, but he became a star last season. What's his upside? Who do you compare him to at the NFL level?
Huge. He's going to thrive at the next level. He's a great person. He's extremely competitive. He's smart, football wise and off football and non-football wise, very intelligent. He's just got a great work ethic, and that's why it's going to take him so far. I mean, it's literally the week of the draft. Monday morning, he's in the weight room here at our facility at 6 a.m. working out. And literally on draft day, he's at the facility catching balls outside on the practice field after he was in the weight room working out. And no disrespect to anybody that's going in the draft this weekend, but I don't know if every single one of them are in the weight room early in the morning draft week, much less at their own team's facility. They're usually somewhere else doing whatever, and that's their prerogative. But I say that for Zay because he's got an unmatched work ethic. He's relentless about it. He's grateful, appreciative for everything. And who he compares to, I don't know. I mean, there's another receiver that came out of here, obviously, in Deebo Samuel, that they're built very similar in a lot of ways. And Zay is a guy that, from a receiver standpoint, he can win on the outside, he can win on the inside. He's a 4-unit special teams player, meaning he can cover kickoffs, return kicks, play on the punt return team, cover punts. He loves special teams. That's the thing. I mean, yes, he had a great season this year at the receiver position. He'd have been drafted even if he didn't have this season just because of his ability to play special teams alone. I mean, all you have to do is go watch our game against Texas A&M in 2022. He returns the opening kickoff for a touchdown. And in the same game, he's running downfield covering kickoffs and making solo tackles inside the 20-yard line. And he's playing gunner on the punt team. So he can just help a team in so many ways. And that's what I'm excited about for him as he gets into takes the next step in his football career.
All right, spinning it forward, you do have to replace Spencer Rattler. You go in the portal, you get Robbie Ashford. You have Ladarius Sellers on there as well. What is your quarterback situation looking like, at least post-spring practice going forward? Are you ready to name a starter? Do you have somebody in mind? Just what's the plan?
Yeah, that room is certainly more competitive. Lenore Sellers was a freshman last season, played in 3 games for us. Robbie comes in from Auburn. Luke Doty, who's been in our program now for a while. That's kind of a combination wide receiver and quarterback. Dante Reno is a freshman quarterback that just got here. And then Davis Bevel that transferred in he had been at Pittsburgh and Oklahoma, but is a South Carolina native and transferred in as well. So there's depth in that room. They're all at like different stages of their career. The Norris is the one that's got the most experience in this system, along with Dow, or along with Luke Doty being with Dow Logan. So those guys all had good springs. They're all really good players. They're all extremely competitive, and I saw all of them get better throughout 15 practices, during the spring as well. So I'm excited about that position and those guys and how they continue to make our offense better. They got a lot of new faces around them as well. So I'm just eager to kind of get everybody here and continue to build on what we did in spring practice, not just at the quarterback position, but offensive line, wide receiver, tight end, running backs, because we have new faces, whether it be freshmen or transfers at every single position on offense.
How hard is it to keep a depth chart together at quarterback? Because there's only one football. At wide receiver, whatever, you can distill, 8 catches, 5 catches, 3 catches, all these opportunities. But how do you keep something like that together?
Yeah, it's hard. I saw that firsthand when I was at Oklahoma with Lincoln Riley. And you think about it, you had 3 years in a row where you had transfer quarterback and Baker Mayfield that came in, transfer quarterback and Kyler Murray that came in, transfer quarterback and Jalen Hurts that came in, and then Spencer took over. And then a lot of those instances, the transfer quarterback comes in, quarterback that's already in the program possibly decides to leave, or you sign a hotshot freshman like Spencer, but then you've also got Jalen Hurts. Other quarterbacks say, well, I'm not sure I want to go there because they got Jalen Hurts, and then they just brought in Spencer Rattler as well. So it's a challenge because we got to a point in my last year at Oklahoma, which was 2020. Spencer was our quarterback. I think we only had 3 scholarship quarterbacks on our entire team, if I'm not mistaken, that year. Spencer, Tanner Mordecai, who ended up transferring to Wisconsin, and Chandler Morris, who ended up transferring to TCU, I believe. So that's scary when you got 3 scholarship quarterbacks, and one of them was a true freshman that literally just got to town. So that's why, to me, you can never have enough of those guys, because you're exactly right. Like, there's only one. So if a guy realizes that the other guy is going to be the guy, sometimes they're going to stick around. You've seen that with Mac Jones at Alabama, and Carson Beck at Georgia did that, but a lot of times they're going to leave. So you've got to think about, signing definitely at least one quarterback a year, Barrett, in high school recruiting, always, just to keep that number where you want it to be, if not more, and then certainly the portal. But it's a challenge more so than any other position, because there is only one.
You mentioned the offensive line troubles last year and all the injuries you did have on the offensive line. How do you fix that? How have you done that so far, and what do you need to do this summer?
Yeah, before our players even got here, as soon as the season ended, sat down with our strength and conditioning, nutrition, and training room staff and just went through all of our injuries, not just on the offensive line, but across the team, because, we offensive line got hit the most, but we also want to look at everything that we're doing. And is there something from a nutrition standpoint, training standpoint, recovery standpoint, practice, the way we do things? Is there a common denominator that maybe we need to tweak to be better so that doesn't happen? So you do that. But the biggest thing for us is just continuing to develop the depth. I mean, we had freshmen in there last year that we had to play, and we're going to play some freshmen this season as well. Increase the depth where when you do have an injury, because you're going to have some injuries throughout the season, there's no doubt about it. You've got enough depth in there where you can survive it and overcome it. Last year was an extreme, and you pray that you don't have that many injuries at one position again, where your starting center finishes the season as the starting right tackle, and starting guard finishes the season as the center. I mean, it was tough because I think it was week 10 before we started the same offensive line combination in back-to-back weeks. So weeks 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, we had a starting 5 that was different every single week. And it wasn't because of guys getting benched. It was because of injuries. And that's tough because, you've been covering this sport long enough. Like, you've got to have that continuity up front, those 5 guys together. And the good news is all of us that went through that last season, other than Nick Gargiulo, who was our center, they all returned. And it's great. Those freshmen that had to play are a year older. Those guys like Vershawn Lee, who played center and right tackle last year, they're back. So we'll be better automatically because we've got more depth, we've got more experience, we brought in some transfers that we're excited about, and I was pleased with that group in the summertime and excited to watch them continue to progress in the summertime. I was excited about them in the springtime, and then excited to watch them continue to progress in the summer months as we lead into preseason in August.
Well, you know what they say, some of the best lessons and some of the best information comes from failures. And so, that had a lot of trials and tribulations last year on that offensive line. So last year you kind of switched to a little bit more of a 3-3-5 defensively. Now you're kind of back to a 4-2-5. Like, what's the plan defensively? I know, all y'all like to say it's multiple, right? But, with the personnel that you have, what are you looking for from your defense?
Yeah, great question. Last year for that was one, and it's always this, let's be multiple enough where we can get our best 11 guys on the field. And, I just looking at us last season, we had some athletic linebackers that I felt like we needed to find a way to get on the field a little bit more, to generate a little bit more pass rush and just to be a little bit more disruptive. We started out the season playing good defense against Georgia, against North Carolina for the most part. Played solid defense, went through a stretch against Mississippi State and Florida where we didn't play great. And then we finished the season playing really well defensively against Kentucky and Clemson. Our defense played well enough for us to win those games. And going into this year, it's the same thing. Let's get our best 11 on the field. And part of the reason last year, Barrett, was because of a lack of depth on the defensive line. We basically had a 3-man rotation at defensive tackle, and that's tough because those guys get worn down. We've brought in more depth on the defensive line at the defensive tackle position and the defensive end position. But we've also brought in more depth at linebacker. Like, I'm really excited about the athleticism of our linebacker crew. We're better. We're more athletic. We're more talented. To me, that group, linebacker, may be, one of the strengths of our team, but we're also better up front. So to answer your question, we're working both. I think every game is different. We do want to be multiple enough where we can play some 3 down and play some 4 down. And we'll continue to see how guys go. But at the end of the day, it's get the best 11 on the field, but also be multiple enough where you give opposing offenses a lot to prepare for. And I feel like we'll be able to with our personnel.
All right, so we are a couple days away from the transfer portal window closing. Is there somebody right now in your football complex just hitting refresh over and over and over and over again?
Pretty much. I hope we got more than one. We tell our position coaches, they're in charge of their positions, obviously. So we always are looking at how to make our team better. And me as the head coach, but each position coach in their particular room, their unit, and then our recruiting personnel staff / department. We're all in this thing together, and we're all looking at it. I like the team that we have in place already here that's in this building. And really excited about this group, the way that we've recruited, the freshmen that we have here right now, some of the transfers that we've already brought in. But like every program across the country, we have some positions that depth-wise we're not where we need to be at. Us, like every school in America, has a target number of bodies that you want at each position to get through a season, scholarship-wise and total player-wise. And a couple spots we're not where we need to be, and we need to be able to increase the depth just from a practice standpoint, competitive standpoint on Saturdays, and that's what we're looking to do. But like the group we have right now already, but if there's a way to make us just a little bit better, we're going to, and that's my job as head coach.
Has there ever been a moment, like you don't need to name names, but where you look at that portal or one of your assistants sees a name pop up and you're just like, no freaking way he's in there?
Yeah, I've had a couple of those this week, actually, with guys that have gone in the portal, and it's one of those like, really? So nothing I've learned in my short time, nothing really surprises you anymore when it comes to that. And there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen right now around student athletes and things like that as well. So certainly there's a lot of times that you hear of guys that are in the portal, and it's certainly surprising for different reasons each and every time. And like I said, a few of those this week specifically.
Though, looking at the calendar, especially in the winter, you guys are putting on 5 or 6 different hats seemingly all the time. How would you fix that? Or do you even want to fix that?
No, I would. I think from a portal standpoint, period, in my mind, I think the portal windows need to be shortened a little bit than what they are already right now. I mean, it's essentially the way it is right now. The portal's 6 weeks throughout the year. And to me, a student athlete, I'm not anti-portal. We've benefited from it. We're going to continue to benefit from it. But I do believe that a guy doesn't need 6 weeks out of the year to determine if he wants to go somewhere else and play. I think that decision's usually pretty clear to them at the end of their season or at the end of spring practice as well. So that'd be one thing that I think would be better for the student athletes and the coaches, for one. And then I don't know, there's a lot of things from a calendar standpoint that I think could be better. But, you know, at the end of the day, I'm still surrounded by great people. I still love what I do. There's different challenges that the job brings that weren't here 2-3 years ago. And you just learn to navigate them as you go and make it the best for the particular program that you're a part of at that moment.
All right, it is Booster Club season. And so I got to ask you, South Carolina's got great food. Low Country Boil or Carolina barbecue?
Carolina barbecue. Nothing against anything else, but that's certainly hard to beat, particularly on the Booster Club circuit as well. I was in Lancaster, South Carolina last week, ate at the Catawba Fish Camp, and that was a whole bunch of like just fried food and fish and all the hush puppies. And that's what it's all about on the Booster Club circuit for sure.
How much cardio do you have to get done after all this stuff?
A lot. Fortunately, I stay pretty active and try and work out pretty regularly, but I got to be even more diligent about it. Might do 2-a-days in the month of May just because I know how much I'm going to be eating on the Booster Club circuit as well.
Awesome. Well, Shane, appreciate you hopping on. Good luck during the last couple days of the transfer portal window and beyond. Thanks for hopping on.
Yeah, you got it. Thanks for having me as always.
That'll do it for this edition of College Football Smothered and Covered. Appreciate you guys checking out the show. Appreciate Shane Beamer for hopping on to discuss the South Carolina Gamecocks. You know what? Give us a 5-star, please. Spread the word. Or 1 star. Doesn't matter. But please share this show. I would greatly appreciate it. Like we said, this is a restart of college football, I should say SEC Smothered and Covered, which was highly successful back between 2016 and 2018. Had to, that one went the way of the dodo bird. Don't really like why, don't like the reasons, wish I could have it back, and no, we can't. So we made this a national show for you, the fan. Have a great Friday. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.